Please deliver enclosed around the county as widely as possible.
Let's crack on then.
Something to tell you, listen up, I got something to say. There's a reason for you to feel neglected, lonely, let down, this way rejected. Listen up, good something.
Hi, I'm Delana, and welcome to our search for Cumbria's Promise. I'm here in Whitehaven, but we're going all over the county. Why don't you come with me? Work began in the spring of 2010 when a group of looked after children and young people from West Cumbria spent 8 weeks looking at the pledge. So, during this film, please have a think about what you have got to offer. What's your role in the delivery of Cumbria's Promise?
We will ensure that you have a qualified social worker to support you with clear arrangements for you to contact them.
We will respect your dignity as an individual with your own identity and needs.
We will provide you with a placement that can best meet your needs.
Here I am in Carlisle looking for the promise. I'm off to interview some senior managers. What does Cumbria's Promise mean to you?
It means everything, actually. When I started work, I came here as corporate director in September, and the first cabinet paper I wrote actually was the paper that underpins Cumbria's Promise. You'd just finished doing the artwork with Whitwood and Fleming when I got here, and there were lots of postcards all over the place, which is brilliant. I've got some on my wall there. What I thought was important was that we were able to articulate not just what young people said they wanted, but how we could answer that. So in a way, the Cumbria's Promise grew out of what young people, their wish list really. And I wanted members to have something that was able to answer that demand really that we were hearing from our looked after children. As far as I'm concerned, the children who are looked after by Cumbria County Council, they're mine. They're ours. They're our children. And as far as I'm concerned, I sort of work for them in that way. The way I work for my own children, I work for our children looked after. Officers are working hard to establish a group called the MALAP, the Multi-Agency Looked After Partnership, that will bring people from all sorts of external partnerships, health, police, children's services, housing, everywhere. Bring them together to talk about how can we improve outcomes, what are we doing, holding ourselves to account really, what are we doing, what impact is it having, and how do we know? That MALAP has to be informed by young people. We'll come to you to ask you for that. You tell us how you want to operate. So that the MALAP would be listening to young people would be listening to the MALAP, and together making sure that outcomes are continually improved.
Everything that we do needs to be informed by Cumbria's Promise. Every telephone conversation, every piece of direct work with children and families needs to be informed by the principles of Cumbria's Promise. I would like to see us improve how we deliver Cumbria's Promise by the development of a multi-agency looked after partnership. Now that might sound like another meeting, but a partnership is something that can really make a difference.
If you break a promise, you're gonna hurt someone and they will never trust you again.
They will never trust you again. I'm here in Whitehaven now. I've come to see Annabelle Hogan and her team, so let's go and see what they have to say about Cumbria's Promise. What does Cumbria's Promise mean to you?
Well, it's a number of expectations by the local authority to deliver services for children looked after, and basically the services should be aimed to help children looked after to achieve the best of their potential and the best outcomes for their life really. Children, young people in Cumbria in the care system should be very much aware of this and use it to defend their own rights really when they think that things are not being dealt with in a fair manner for themselves.
If you break a promise, you're gonna hurt someone and they will never trust you again. Treat me like family with love.
Prior to coming here today, I found it difficult to locate the promise, to see it anywhere. It's not displayed around our offices, and it could be. for myself and the team that I work in, I think it will be easy for us to be able to get that promise out there. We can make sure that children are aware when we're chairing the reviews, when we have meetings with them, when we're talking to social workers or parents or to carers. And I think one of the things that we can do is make sure that every child receives a copy of Cumbria's Promise and then is able to discuss that or ask questions about it when they're actually in the reviews. And that children themselves feel empowered to use the promise as a pledge to say, you know, this is what you said you would do for me. Let's see you do it.
Treat me like family with love.
Help me to become independent.
If you break a promise,
You're gonna hurt someone and they will never trust you again.
They will never trust you again.
I've had the privilege of being part of the development of the promise with some of the young people that we look after. And to me, it's about basic human rights. It's about the right to have people who are going to be there for you, who are going to look after you educationally, who are going to look after you from a care perspective. And just simple things like having the same person all the time, which is really important because in life we don't change people normally. You know, you tend to have your own mum and dad for a long, long time, and our young people and our children don't sometimes have that. And so it's really important that we have stability, you know, in placements, with workers, with school. And I think that's what the promise is about. It's about giving you what you should have, really. It's not hard. I just think it's really, really important that people know about this and understand where this has come from. You know, where it's come from elected members, but it's also come from the young people in Cumbria. And it's so important to them because the group of young people who, you know, did the work around the promise and around what it's about, they really care about what happens to other young people in care and other young people's lives. And I think, you know, if anything, let's listen to them.
We will access a place at a good school for you.
Today I'm at Portland Square in Carlisle. I've come to interview some elected members, so let's go and see what their role is in Cumbria's Promise.
The job as lead member is to make sure that everything we do is thinking about children in this county. When we decided that we would actually take this forward as a policy, it was about trying to make sure that everyone understood their roles and responsibilities to look after children and to make sure that children themselves understood that we care about them and that we were promising to look after them and make sure that their views are heard as good as looking after our own children. And I think we need to highlight that more. We've got a county council diary, and now at the front of that diary is Cumbria's Promise. It's right in the heart of here. 83 members of the county council have got a written promise in their hands daily.
We've got to make sure that all the young people know about it, and also for all the people who are involved with them, whether they're councillors or officers, that they should be making sure that they live up to those promises.
Is it enough to have the promise just in your paper diary?
No, because not all of us use paper diaries anymore. We use our Blackberries and we use our calendar online.
I'm here in Martin near Ulverston to speak to Di Tyson, who's a foster carer. Let's go and see what she has to say about Cumbria's Promise.
Well, Cumbria's Promise is in this house, very definitely. And my job is to give children a sense of belonging, give them plenty of opportunities to allow them to reach for the stars and to reach their true potential. Well, everything that we do is based on the promise, basically, from the child coming to us to feeling a part of the family, to having a good education, to being an individual and having their own hobbies, their own personal space, their own friends. It's all to do with making them a well-adjusted adult ready to go off on their own into society.
We will respect your dignity as an individual with your own identity and needs.
We will provide you with access to a high-quality early years provision.
I look upon my job now as looking after children as chairman, but as a corporate parent, I try to look after the young people as I looked after my 2 girls when they were little. And if they haven't got a family, well, I'll have to learn. But I would like to think that they would all accept that they are corporate parents and get involved where they're needed.
Cumbria's promise to me means that every child growing up in Cumbria is able to meet their full potential, and that the County Council, in its role as corporate parents, looks after and makes sure that every child who maybe can't live at home has the best opportunities, and that the council, in everything it does, makes sure it does the most for those children.
We will help you and support you to achieve at school.
We will access a place at a good school for you.
We will support and help you in seeking education, employment and training.
I think it's important that everybody understands that this promise is there and the importance of the promise, because the word promise means that we're making a commitment to young people, and I think if we make that commitment, then we need to make sure that it's embedded in our work, that we all understand. I understand quite clearly the role that I have in making sure that looked after children achieve really well in schools, and other people within health and other services need to understand and have a full commitment and feel very passionately about it. I personally feel really committed to improving educational outcomes for looked after children, because I think education provides real opportunities for young people later in life. So in my day-to-day work, I'm fully committed each and every day to working to improve those outcomes for looked after children, and I think if our colleagues in health, in all different aspects, have that same level of commitment, then we will make this promise real for young people.
So, Cumbria's promise, is it in Southcroft? Or is it on Corney Fell?
I think Cumbria's promise should be something that means something to young people. What I would like to think is that it's something that young people can know and something that they can claim for themselves. I think I would like to imagine that a young person who's looked after would be able to come to their worker or anybody else in the organisation, or one of the councillors, for example, and say, this is what Cumbria's promised me, how do I get it? I think it would be helpful if it was more widely, the responsibility for it was more widely carried. I think there are organisations within Cumbria who don't realise that they actually too are part of this corporate parent thing, particularly thinking about care leavers, that other agencies, other housing agencies, benefit agencies, training agencies are not as aware that they too are part of this corporate parent business. And I think there's more that could be done to help other agencies to carry their part of the responsibility.
Where do you live now?
I live in supported lodgings. It's like a service that you can go into when you leave care, and I really enjoy it. I've received a lot of support when I lived in here. I received support to help us in education, like skills of when I need to move out, everything like that really.
Where do you think the promise should be for you and other looked after children to see it?
They should have it either sent by text message on Facebook, or they should have their own website where everyone can access. Well, if somebody says they're going to do something, they should stick to the promise and like give evidence that they've done it, so then people won't feel disappointed if they say they're going to do something and they don't do it.
We will provide you with appropriate services to meet your physical and emotional health needs.
We will provide you with support if you go on to further and higher education.
We will provide you with a placement that best meets your needs.
Where's Whitehaven?
Is that way?
Yeah. Hi, I'm back in Carlisle to see Eddie Martin, who's leader of Cumbria County Council.
When young people and children are taken into care, it is not their fault. They're taken into care for whatever reasons. I'm not being critical of parents, but if we, the local authority, think that a child is going to be better off in care and be given more advantages and not disadvantaged, then we take them into care because we think we can do it better than their current parents are doing at the moment. And of course, many foster children go back to their parents. So I think we have not just a legal obligation, we have a moral obligation to make sure that all our children do as well as they can. So for me, the promise really says, if this child, if this girl, if this boy was your personal child, what would you be doing to help this youngster on the road to independence, education, growing up and adjusting well? And I think that's the obligation, that's the duty that we have.
Being a good corporate parent is always thinking, always being mindful of the children and young people that you're working with. So it's more than being child-focused in what you do. It's ensuring that a child and a young person is not seen as a service user, but it is the service.
So I'm still looking for the promise. I wonder if it's in Penrith.
A lot of our young people have very limited communication skills and some have none at all. What we found is a lot are going towards PECS, which is a picture system, and a lot are using what we call widget. This is a system where when you type words in, it's interpreted with a picture above it, so that as well as reading it, you can also interpret it through the pictures. So children that have no reading ability can actually try and make some sort of sense of what's being written down and said. And for that case, I think it'd be ideal if we could put the promise into that sort of format so that children of all levels can try and understand bits of it. And the thing with widget, you can also use pictures that are fair to the children as well, so you can use pictures that are in their everyday life as well as the predetermined pictures that are on the system.
Basically, you just type in like your words and it comes up with the symbols.
Well, I think it needs to be presented in a more child-friendly way because a lot of our children don't have any reading ability, or a lot of them don't even have any speech, and they use widget and signs. Some children have no sight, so they could even think about doing a Braille version. And in fact, some of the parents have learning disabilities and don't have much language skills themselves. To be honest, this is the first I've heard of it today. I've never heard of Cumbria's Promise before until I've heard this morning. And then when I've read it, it means what we do here anyway. It's part and parcel. In fact, it's the fabric of what we do. It's a real backbone.
I don't think that enough staff know about this at the moment. I think the council need to put it out there so staff can discuss it at staff meetings and like people like us can decide how we'll pass it on to the young people.
So, where is Cumbria's Promise?
At the moment, it's on my desk.
For me personally, Cumbria's Promise is in each and every school.
Well, in my case, it's in my diary.
Cumbria's Promise is here.
Excuse me, love. We've got this promise. Do you know where it needs to be?
Well, strangely, we've been making a film about Cumbria's Promise. We've been to Whitehaven, Barrow, Penrith, Carlisle, trying to find Cumbria's Promise. But we've realised it's not in any one place or any one person. It's all over the county, every place, every person, and it should be in all our hearts.
So, where do you want it then?
Follow me.
Treat me like family with love.
If you break a promise, you're gonna hurt someone and they will never trust you again.
They will never trust you again.
It's currently within the Independent Safeguarding Children's Unit in which I work.
It's here. It's here.
So that's the end of our film. I hope you've enjoyed finding out about Cumbria's Promise from all over the county. I know I have. Thank you for watching, and I hope you understand what these promises mean to all young looked after people. How do I know what it means? I am one.
So, have you had to think about what your role is in Cumbria's Promise?